We're going to go through some relationship, dating, breakup, submission forms that I have received. And if you're interested and you want to submit your own story and you want me to go over it in these videos, I'm going to leave a link in the description below. But for now, I have a particular story about a user whose ex has reached out and they're not really sure what to do now. So let's go through it together. Hi, Rory. I have a bit of a success story and I could use some advice going forward. Me and my girlfriend of nearly 10 years, wow, split up at the beginning of June of this year. There wasn't any cheating or abuse, so I was somewhat confused as to why this was happening, especially after going away to Italy a month prior for our first holiday abroad. We had been together since she was 16 and I was 18, so I'm going to write that down. They dated for 10 years. We're going to just mark some information as we go. And she is 2 years younger than the original poster. Okay. She told me she was unhappy, that she didn't know who she is outside of us, and that she didn't expect to have that kind of experience of living independently like I did, as I had my own flat in the early years of our relationship and I went to university. So yeah, that's really important. So what's going on here is you have to think when you're dating someone that early for that long, there's going to be that natural sense of like, my entire early adulthood was spent safely in a relationship. I didn't get to go out and try the flavors. I didn't get to go date other people and have those experiences. For those who may not know, I was actually in a similar situation where my first long-term relationship lasted 10 years from when I was 16 to when I was 26. And so I felt very similarly, right? Like I'm spending all of this time in this one relationship. What am I missing out on? In other words, it's sort of like the grass is greener syndrome that we've talked about here. At this point, she said she didn't know if she wanted to stay or not, but she still loved me. I know she wanted to get married, and I was initially resistant to the notion when I was younger, but came around to it as I grew older, and she was aware of my change of heart. I told her that I was going to propose on our 10-year anniversary, and I showed her what I had planned. Okay, I don't pre-read these, ever. I like read the first line just to get a general sense of like, okay, this is what we're talking about. If you're ever in a situation where your partner is uncertain, and you do things to try and lock them down even more, like an engagement, like a wedding ring, like having a baby, like offering to move in together, that will turbocharge the breakup. Never double down like that. That will 100% of the time. If there's uncertainty, unless the only exception to what I just said is if the uncertainty is stemmed by like, hey, you know, I'm in this relationship with you and you don't know if you want to get married. I know that I want to get married. So like, what are we doing here? That's different. But even then, you should still be certain that this is what you want and not doing it just to hold on to your partner. I said to her, I don't know if you want to stay or not, but if I propose on our anniversary, what would you say? And she said she would say yes. Again, I have not pre-read this story. Let's just see if I was right. We agreed to have 4 weeks of living separately as we had been pretty much joined at the hip since COVID. She went back to her dad's house so she could have her own, so she could work on having her own life outside of the relationship, and I stayed in our house so I could look after her cat and reflect on things. We agreed to meet up once a week for dates and to keep in contact over messages in between. So it's not really a break. You're more like dialing back the relationship. During the break, I looked into attachment theory. I identified myself as anxiously attached, good for you, and recognized codependent behavior in our relationship. I started therapy to address my attachment issues, which stem from physical and emotional abuse during childhood. I'm really sorry to hear that you went through that, but I'm really glad that you've decided to take action based on that. Good for you. Really, really, really well done. I'm biased because I'm a therapist, but like, I think everybody should go to therapy. We went on a couple of really good dates, and the absence seemed to have made us miss one another, as we would talk nonstop when in person. 2 weeks in the break, she decides to end the relationship. What'd I tell you? I have seen so many of these friends that after a while, like patterns start to emerge. All of this blindsided me as I thought things were going in the right direction. She said she loved me, but she wasn't in love with me. She only loved me as a best friend. Ooh, you never want to hear that. That basically means the romantic feelings in the relationship have slowly bled out. In this particular case, it's probably because they dated for 10 years since they were 16. There's only so much you can really keep in the relationship, you know? Like when you date for that long, that early, this is gonna happen. Happened to me, and I've seen it happen thousands of times. She needs to find herself, and she needs to be selfish, and that she has already found someone somewhere else to live. Lots of tears were shed on both sides. She asked if we could be friends, and I told her no. Good for you. We saw each other once or twice a week as we had to deal with the house and rehoming our cats, as I couldn't take them back to my mom. She couldn't take them to this house she signed the lease for. A few days later, after the breakup, we sat down and had a heart-to-heart and plenty of tears. She admitted how much she hurt me. She looked into her own attachment style, and she identified as fearful avoidant. I want people to be really careful when they're like calling themselves fearful avoidant or this or that. I'm going to do another video about attachment theory, like really in depth. It's going to be like the style of video. When you're avoiding something, that does not literally make you avoidant, right? If you're avoiding someone that you want to break up with, that's a normal human reaction. That's not happening because of trauma in your childhood or things like that. That's, I'm avoiding them because this is like bad feelings and it's an unfun environment and like I feel guilty that I hurt them. That's why she's avoiding in this case, but I don't know her whole history, so I'm just going to take the fearful avoidant thing at face value. She said she needs therapy too, as she has childhood trauma. Okay, never mind. Ignore everything I just said. A real professional therapist. The conversation ended with both of us agreeing to get help for our respective insecure attachment styles and to give things another try in the future. Cool. It was around this time I discovered your channel. I cut off all messages that weren't strictly business so I could give her some space in between dealing with the house. Things began to warm up between us during the next 5 weeks. The awkwardness quickly disappeared. Things were playful, flirty. She was leaning on me for validation and emotional support, and it all felt very confusing, I bet. And by the way, for people listening going through breakups, this is not uncommon, right? You're going to see a lot of the time when your ex is uncertain of what they want, you're going to see them reaching out for some validation, for some reassurance that you're still there. So this could be hot and cold behavior. They mentioned at the beginning this is a success story, so I'm assuming, you know, they're back now. But just be wary of that. Be wary. She broke up with me, but we were still acting like a couple in so many ways. On the last day of dealing with the house, we got ice cream, got a bit nostalgic, had a nice time together. Before she left, we talked about things getting warmer between us. I told her I'm not trying to pressure you, and I'm not trying to rush things. But this is slowly going somewhere. Are you unsure, or are you just trying to keep me around as a friend? You're being very direct about this. I would be careful about being so like, hey, so what are we? What are we? What are we? What are we? Right? She said just friends. The second she said that, there he is. Look, I went straight into no contact. Good for you. What is this an example of? This is an example of boundary setting. The person is saying, yo, cool, I hear you. You want to be friends? I've told you before I don't want to be friends. And since you're trying it again, I'm going to go no contact. Because I made my boundaries clear and you are ignoring them to try and get what you want. During no contact, I kept up with my therapy, started journaling. I grew my hair back out as I shaved my head during COVID and was always scared to grow it back. Trimmed my beard nice and short. Finished off my 2-year weight loss, losing 120 pounds, going from morbidly obese to a healthy weight. Learning how to ride a motorcycle and a bike. Got back into some old hobbies like guitar and photography. Joined a few clubs. Saved for my own property. Dude, this, when I say work on yourself, this is exactly what I'm talking about. And you're doing it. And I'm so, so, so proud of you. Good, good, good job. This is an amazing example of a success story. Because even if your ex didn't come back, like, I haven't even got to that part yet, but even if they didn't come back, look at what you traded heartbreak for. Someone broke up with you for reasons that you probably didn't have a hell of a lot to do with. Maybe you had some conduct, but we'll get to that. And instead of taking, you know, drugs or going down like an alcoholism pit, no judgment if these are things that have happened to you, but I'm saying, look what grief can turn into. Look at what a healthy thing this person is turning this into. Congratulations, man. This breakup is probably the most painful thing I'd experienced, but I knew staying at home and doing nothing and ruminating would not help. Good for you. Therapy, exercise, getting back into hobbies. Good for you. Time apart gave me time to reflect on our relationship and why the breakup happened. I feel it boils down to 2 main factors. Number 1, she felt smothered and like she had no independence. I agree with that. Number 2, lack of novelty. I agree with that too. Think about what I was saying earlier. If you're dating someone for 10 years, not even in your 20s, when you're 16 to 18, you know only that person. Your whole life is only that person. So it gets old. All right, we're going to skip to the part where... Oh, actually, here it is. From the beginning of No Contact, there was some light breadcrumbing on social media, liking my photos, consistently watching my stories, staying in contact with my friends. We saw each other very briefly to close a joint bank account. Interesting. Okay. Looks like they bumped into each other. We're going to skip ahead a bit. I appreciate the detail, but I didn't need the life story. But but thank you anyway. A bit under 2 weeks, she sends me a message saying she's found a letter of mine. This letter is from over 4 years ago for a pension I no longer have, which she's aware of. That's a classic indirect direct. What does Craig Kenneth call it? A classic message. She's basically sending you a message that has nothing to do about the message. It's that she wants to talk to you. She asked if I was home that evening and if she could come around. I've heard you talk about the indirect direct. To be clear, that's Craig Kenneth thought of the term. We all know what it is, but the terminology that he created for that was really good. So I'm not going to take credit for that term. That's his. I told her that I was busy that evening as I was going to one of my clubs. We talked a bit more about a shared hobby. Look what they did there. I'm really glad you said this. I told her that I was busy, that you could come by, but like, I can't hang out with you for long. I got things to do. Dismissing her, not in a rude way, but like, you're not my priority. You broke up with me. I have this thing that I do that's going to keep me really happy and safe and healthy, and I'm not going to abandon that just because you came knocking. Good for you. That was really good for her attraction for you. Let's see. I figured if it was really about the letter, she could have put them through the letterbox while I was busy that evening or sent them through the mail. Letterbox. So we met up and spent some time together with our cats. It was like we hadn't spent any time apart at all. Everything was natural between us. She was excited to tell me everything she had been up to, was really interested in the things I was doing. We talked nonstop for a couple of hours. Lots of laughs, eye contact, receptive body language, inside jokes, light physical contact. That's big. That's big. All the positive signs one would hope to see in the situation, and no talking about the breakup. Good. When an ex reaches out to you, one that you want to reconcile with, assuming the situation is somewhat similar to what we're reading here, the objective is to make sure they're having a good time, right? You don't want to bring up the breakup and doom and gloom and are you thinking about me? Did you miss me? Do you want to come back to me? All that. Show them a good time. That's all you need to do, right? We create relationships because we have good times with people. We break up with relationships because we have bad times with people. It's pretty much that simple. Is there some nuance? Of course, but by and large, it's that simple. After coffee, I walked her back to her car. We had both nearly forgotten about the letters, and that had initiated all of this. We shared a hug, and I was taken a bit back by how tight she held me. She's still sorting through her stuff. She'll probably have more letters to give me. I would have gone for the kiss if you could have, but it's okay that you didn't. Like, you didn't screw anything up because you didn't. Rather than play this game of her needing excuses to see me, I just asked directly, do you want to see each other again? And she said yes. Good for you. Being direct. Telling her, like, yo, this is how it's going to be. And if you don't want it that way, again, you hit her with the no contact. You asked her directly. You're being open and honest. You're communicating. Good for you. I'm happy to say I took your advice. I bowed out gracefully. I worked on myself. I went into no contact. And I struck while the iron was hot. Yes, you did. I have no idea how any of this is going to pan out in the future, but I know I will be fine regardless of the outcome. I was hoping you could offer some advice on handling the situation going forward. He's 28. OP is 28. And the X is 26. All right, so we're going to write that down. 28. X 26. The breakup was... I don't know if he mentioned how long ago the breakup was. He said June. June 2024. Presenting issue was, I'm just going to be quick about this. Relationship boredom. Number 2, lack of freedom. That the ex felt like they didn't have freedom. Okay. The specific question. Now that me and my ex are back in contact, I was hoping you could offer some guidance on reconciling. I don't want to rush things. I want to make sure things are going at the right pace, and I don't want to come on too strong. Okay. So basically what they're asking is, hey, the ex reached out. How do I close the deal, basically, right? To be honest with you, and I don't want to make this a non-starter here, but like, you're doing exactly what you should be doing. So let's just go piecemeal over this, okay? So think about this. The ex reached out. Number 1, OP, the original poster, is not dropping everything to see X. What does that let X know? That lets X know, you are not my priority. I'd like to see you. You are my preference, but you are not my priority. I'm not going to stop living my life for your benefit. What does that show the X? That shows the X that OP, the original poster, has confidence, that the original poster is not beholden to the whims of the X, which so many people are. The second they see like, oh, I can get away with murder, like I'll snap my fingers and the person I broke up with will come running. I can do whatever I want to them, right? So in other words, OP is showing confidence, and that's clearly serving them very well. Number 2, OP, I want you to keep it fun. Keep it fun. Show them a good time, okay? Like I said, hang out, have a good time, keep things focused on fun, lighthearted, and whenever you're hanging out with them, you know, like be a little flirty, a little consensually speaking, light touching. If she tells a funny joke, like push her on the shoulder, you know, you can grab her hand while you guys are walking. You can lead the charge a bit with the physical touching. If they recoil or say, I don't want that, obviously, you know, respect their boundaries, etc. Number 3, do not hang out more than once per week. Once per week. That's it. I would say keep the phone calls, keep the texts to a minimum. I don't really want you to think about that too much. I don't want you to have to play the game. But, you know, keep it easy. Keep it easy. Don't, if she texts you and you have, you know, a few minutes, can you text back? Of course. There's no hard number for this. That's why it's hard to give specifics. It's more about feeling it out. If she's texting you every single day, sometimes I'd be like, hey, I'm kind of busy this week. You know, I got a lot of things going on. Hey, are we still on for Friday? We're good. We'll get some pizza or something. Now, when to finally ultimately strike, right? Like the what are we conversation. Okay, let's talk about that. Assuming you guys have hung out for, let's say 5-6 weeks. You've gone on about 5-6 dates. Things are going well. Things are good. Maybe you've hooked up once or twice. That's not required. That's just, if you have, great. If you haven't, that's okay. I would say probably on about date 6, be like, hey, I'm having a really fun time. Would you like to take this maybe to the next step here? It seems like we're on the same page. You can come out and say that. Some coaches are like, no, don't do that. You shouldn't say that. I'm a fan of just being open and honest with people as much as I can. Do I fail sometimes? Of course. But if you know what you want, and your ex is showing you that 6 times now, they're on board with that. Strike when the iron is hot, right? What does that mean? That means directly tell them, hey, I'm having fun. It seems like we're having fun. I'd like to make this a little more official. What are your thoughts? You don't even need a yes. What you were looking for is the opening of the conversation. That way you guys can talk about that together as adults. The opening of the conversation is what we're looking for, not necessarily the word yes. Beyond that, man, you are doing really, really, really well. Final thing for now, until I get more information from you. The final thing I can think of is continue the personal work at all costs. This is the number one best thing you can do for yourself. Don't fall into a routine where you're hanging out with her and she's back, so it's okay, I feel better. I don't have to do these things anymore. Even if you guys are married, continue the personal work at all costs. What you are doing is working. Don't change it. Don't fix what's not broken. Okay? I am proud of you. For those watching, I hope this video was useful for you. If you would like me to do this for your situation, there's a link down below. If you want maybe some private personal help where you get to talk to me on the phone, I do offer coaching services, also in the link down below. I'll be live streaming tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, where you can bring your questions there and I'll answer them directly. We were doing so well until that gaffe. All right, my friends, let me know what you think of this type of content. I like this type more. It's a little more interactive. It's a little more fun for me, and I don't have to edit the videos. So, all right. Hope this was useful. I'll see you guys later.